Hello, everyone. It's 5:30, so we're going to get started. We're not going to be opening this up as an official board meeting until our official time at 7 o'clock. So we're just going to go right into the presentations with you all. Thank you for coming. And do you have the itinerary?
I just wanted to announce to the board members, this is the Schrader Group. They were one of the 3 groups that was selected to come back and to do a brief presentation for you. We're going to try to limit the presentations to about 30 minutes. The group is well aware of that. We wanted to leave an opportunity in case any of you have questions that you would like to ask any member of their team. And for your sakes, I know you have name tags, but let me just go around and briefly introduce the members of our school board. This is Gretchen Slapinski, our board president, who just spoke. She was at the property committee meeting where she met all, or most of you. Kat Sarsfield, to her right, is the board vice president. And then beginning over at the far right, Janine DePaul Nelson, Walter Lapidus, my business administrator, Ken King, who is the board secretary, who you also met at the property committee meetings. I believe you met Walter as well. James Taylor, who's also the chair of our property committee. Mr. Ben Rayer, who's standing up looking at the tech guy and the computer. And we have John Chapman over here as well. So again, we're going to turn it over to you. Thanks for being here. And oh, yeah, just to let you know, we are recording this so that if there are any members of the community who couldn't make it here this evening, we can make this available to them.
Super. Is this on? Yes? Okay. Oh, great. Well, thank you. Again, on behalf of Schrader Group, I'm Harry Pittoni, one of the principals of the group. I'm going to introduce a couple people, also have a couple people speak. I know at the last initial presentation, some of our folks weren't here. You met David Schrader, obviously, the first time. Sitting next to David's left, Courtney Amsbach is our project manager. That will be assigned. For those that were there, Courtney was out of the country at the time. So we do have her with us this evening. To her left, Ken Bissinger from Renew Design. Some of you are familiar with Ken. Mike Rader, Barton Associates, our MEP, fire protection engineer, and Monique McCrae, project architect and interior designer that are with us. Ken and Mike, just maybe a couple brief seconds of you guys from.
Thank you again for having us this evening. Ken Bissinger, Renew Design Group. Our firm is located in Souderton, Pennsylvania. We're a very highly specialized civil engineering landscape architectural firm. We do a tremendous amount of work with the Schrader Group. We have really good systems and processes intertwined between, and we can guarantee you a pretty seamless project from start to finish. We do a lot of work in the area with municipalities, local township engineers, and of course all the regulatory agencies that are enjoying regulating us more and more on a lot of these fronts. We attend a lot of seminars on stormwater, which has become a big issue in today's world. And I would like to say that we're up on the latest and greatest in thinking relative to that. So we would look forward to bringing that to your project.
Mike Rader with Barton Associates. We're a mechanical electrical engineering firm. We're headquartered in York, Pennsylvania, but we have offices in State College and Pittsburgh. We specialize in higher ed and K through 12 and healthcare. You'll see some of our slides say Barton Education. That is the group that really kind of focuses on our K through 12 and higher ed clientele. We've worked with more than 100 school districts in Pennsylvania in all forms of delivery methodologies. We have embraced BIM and 3D design very early on so that we can better integrate with the architecture and structural elements so that we offer a more seamless and integrated package, easier to build, less surprises in the field.
Thank you, Mike. So to touch on a little bit of Schrader Group and our leadership, David and I have basically dedicated our careers the last 25 years to education planning. And through that, we've spent a lot of time educating ourselves on the student first and what makes sense and how students learn in the physical environment. From a design award, I say that from the standpoint of education environments and how the kids are learning. That's where we've focused and been successful in our award-winning projects. And it's not just kind of fluff to say, we won an award. As leaders, we've been involved in some major education forums. A4LE, or CFPI, which you may have noted. David is actually the incoming chair. And we bring that to the forefront as an organization. You may hear it from other people, but we've had the opportunity to travel at an international level. And bringing those experiences to the table and to our clients has become very important. And the success of the students in learning. Because people are doing things very different all over the world. And not just the West Coast, and very different than the East Coast, but internationally, Australia, China, where we've had some opportunities to explore. From a sustainability standpoint, at this point, whether lead or non-lead, all our projects have become sustainable. It's really a kind of hallmark of every project. Ken talked about stormwater management, best management practices, how we're recycling materials, recycling stormwater. Since the inception of Schrader Group, we're now very familiar with the PD process, where it's going to go from this point forward. We're all tracking it as you are. We'll see where it ends up and how the funding sources fall out, but very in tune to any of those processes, and really on a very high level communication with Jim Vogel right now through all our projects. From the standpoint of our district knowledge, I kind of have you surrounded, and as well from a geographic standpoint, we're about 15 minutes door to door. We're passing through you right now on a regular basis, working out Council Rock, Bristol Township, Ben Salem area. So I think, like I said, I've tracked it, and even with traffic, it's about 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops getting there. David.
Okay, so David Schrader. So we talked about the presentation and how we were going to go about this, and I think because half of you saw this and half of you did not, we thought we would go through a lot of what we did last time again. So bear with us, those of you who've seen some of this. Really, from our perspective, as Harry said, our big focus is really looking at the kids and where they're going with their educational process and what it means from that step up to the administration and teachers and so on, and then what it means to you guys as school board members in the end. And so there's some pretty cool charts out there. You've probably all looked at these as to what the next generation really is. And the Generation Z group, who we're thinking about right now, are in a situation where, this is amazing to me, 17 jobs in a lifetime and 15 homes. Now, obviously, the homes go along with the jobs, right? So they're following that from place to place, and they end up in all these different places. And if I think about the generation before me and then my generation, we end up with a couple of jobs, and we end up with a couple of homes at best. So there's a whole new world going on for these folks. Even scarier, though, are these kinds of pieces of information, including the fact that really, we talked about TV at one point and children being in front of the television screen for too much time. Well, the reality is everybody, you guys included, and I'm sorry to say it, are spending at least 10.5 hours each day in front of some kind of screen. And if you really think about it, when you're walking around with your phone and staring at that, that's even more of a challenge. So these are the kinds of things that we have to deal with. And what does that mean to the spaces, to the technologies in the building, and all of those things that are so critical? The other thing is learning styles. And you're all seeing this because in many of your industries, you're also learning things in new ways as part of your industry. So where many of us went to school and learned to sit and listen to a teacher, which was the general format, now it is activity-based, and it's really project-based, and it's coming up with a way to solve through doing. So really, in the grand scheme of things, as you move out of that, We worked in this spectrum, the read, hear, see. These guys are working in the read, hear, see experience and then teach back. So as they learn, because they learn so many more things because they're on the internet, right or wrong, they are learning things that perhaps we did not know, and then actually, with the knowledge retained, teaching back. And so those of you who are educators know that that's a lot of what you're doing. And for us as architects and education planners who have to reach out and work with all of your administrators and your teachers, we have to help figure out what kinds of spaces surround the new student. And so that's a goal for us. Interestingly, I don't know how many of you sat in those rows? Yeah, me included. And that is actually how they're working now in all of these different groupings around a space. So is that a rectangular space? Is that something else? Is that a bunch of classrooms lined up and then the cafeteria, the gymnasium, and so on? We don't know exactly. And so right now we're kind of in a neat transition stage in education planning. We typically have a couple of slides that talk to the teaching and learning trends, and then the next one talks to the space trends. And if you look at the typical concepts that we're talking about for the next generation of learning, the ones that you guys are looking at, because you're actually looking at a different structure for some of your learning, is the early learning programs, and probably along with that, the literacy programs, I have to imagine. I'm thinking if you're looking at K2, K1s, the early learnings, you're probably looking at that link very heavily with literacy. So Dr. Hacker's nodding, so it's got to be. Project and problem-based learning is where we're all going, the collaborative team problem solving. STEM and STEAM is an old word now, but it's something that we're still adapting the spaces to, and yet we're actually already implementing that. So there's got to be a way to match that, and along with that, the maker movements, thinking and tinkering. And then the facility trends that go along with that, and we'll spend more time on that. Early learning centers, we've been doing these for probably about 12 years now, and one of the earlier ones we did was, and actually Mike was included in this project, was the Yorkshire building. And what you start to see is the learning is focused around the literacy, and then you get groupings of spaces, and then small groups or small schools within schools. And so these are the foci of these concepts. And then the buildings, regardless of their size and regardless of the student capacity, are becoming community centers as well. So we're trying to focus the space on the communities as well, and then finding a way to break that all out so that the academic is separated at night from all those academic spaces, very much, or all those community spaces, very much like you had an entry back here. And focusing around that library space or the media center space. Always a goal of when you take a building down, try to have some remembrance of the building that was there in the past. The old chalkboards from the building that was taken down are part of the teaching space outside. You'll see when we get to the cafeteria and the gymnasium, they have the old columns from the old building as flanking the stage area. And this, I said this to you guys last time too, and it's an amazing thing to think that these kids are circulating through the reading space all the time with a bridge overhead and dropping down through the reading space. So the space is technologically the next step, and you're focused around the literacy. And yet when, and this is the thing I said last time, we're not allowing the owners to buy the furniture without us having a little input from this point forward, because that was 1930s furniture put in a 2012 space. So those are the kinds of things that you run into when you do this. Spaces, though, that reflect that learning style that I showed you in the second slide, not the lined up rows, but actually all kinds of little breakout spaces, and looking at the furniture and the casework as if casework can be moved instead of locked against the wall. So if you can start to do that, you can reorganize your space into all of the centers that you may set up in a typical classroom. So that's a focus that we try to look at as well. There's the columns from the old building flanking. But for a small K-2 building, I think it's pretty interesting to look at the space like this space, which is a full-size, middle school-size gymnasium, because it was a focus of them to make sure that they got their building back to the community as well as to the academic structure. We did the same kind of thing, and again, Mike was the engineer on the project for Mount Nittany State College, and I'm not going to spend a lot more time because I'm trying to track our schedule here. But this building was designed around a K1 structure at the top, and then the rest was a 3, 4, 5. All of the community spaces flanking one side that could be shut off from all of those spaces. And as always, the center of the entire environment is the Learning Reading Center. So research, learning, and project base is at the center of everything. And new aesthetics, because if the aesthetic is coming from some of industry, if we're looking at the industry on the West Coast, the Googles and the so-ons, and that's coming down through the high schools, actually down through the higher ed, down to the high schools, well, then maybe these kids are the next generation that are going to be working in some of those facilities, so why not have a little fun with the interior of the spaces? And yet focusing on security in that the principal can look down any of these wings and see anything that's going on in the building to make sure they know what's happening. Neat thing about this, and those of you who heard it, I'm sorry if I'm repeating it, but we got a tour by a series of second graders on the second week the building was open, and the kids were telling us all about the red pipe being the hot water, the blue pipe being the cold water, and they didn't know that we were the architects and engineers until we got to the end of the tour. So that was kind of fun. And then lots of daylighting, and again, more of the team-based and centers-based spaces. Did the same thing with Ferguson Elementary, and in this building, again, focusing on trying to create, because one of the issues that you run into is the old concept of the double-loaded corridor or classrooms on either side means that you always end up with a factor for circulation through that. So if you can take away that factor for circulation, also known as corridors, and start to use that space, then you get more learning space out of the building than you would if you were just creating corridors to circulate through. So everything, in every one of our buildings, you see that all the circulation spaces also become performance and teaching spaces. So the focus from this building, we actually added to the old building and took the entire old building, ripped the interior out, kept all the hardwood floors, and created all the new spaces within. And then again, the same concept of community-based buildings. But this is that central stairway, and there's a screen up here that drops down. This becomes a projection area, and I guess I didn't have the focus going the other way, which is a learning stair. So the learning stair is a great circulation space for the kids inside, and it also becomes a teaching area for 3 and 4 classrooms worth of kids, and it's a circulation. So why not do that as much as you can? This was just built up in Bristol Township. It's just finishing its construction. There are 3 buildings taking the place of 9 buildings. The students are moving in this fall, although some of them moved in December because we had to get the kids out of the old buildings to get in the new. And this is something I'd actually like to show you, but relative to time, if we can take you on a tour of this, that would be really fun because it's right up the road. This building, though, again, had the concept of K1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. So this half of the building is an early learning center, and then the other half is the next primary grades. So that's always a focus, trying to understand what the needs of that student group are. And again, the learning stairs is circulation. So I'm going to buzz through this. You'll see lots of great images, including furniture, which is so important to the design of these things, and community spaces as well. This is one that's under construction at Phoenixville, and it's going to talk a little bit to the learning spaces at the central cores, small group instruction spaces that become the circulation area, and you'll see how that kind of stacks up. But this building is designed as a K1 center on the side and a 2 through 5 center on the left, with 2 media centers intersecting at the second level. And that's that actual, this is the second level looking across at the 3, 4, 5. This is the K1, 2, or K1 Learning Center, which becomes in essence the living room of the building. And it's wide open. The kids have to pass by the reading area every time. It's modeled after the Springfield Literacy Center down in Delaware County, if you ever want to go look at that building. And these are the kinds of spaces that these kids are going to live in. And just, we've been doing it at the middle school and high school level as well, looking at new ways for education to occur in these buildings. A lot of movement away from the typical classroom structure. And then, of course, we do gyms. So we've done lots and lots of this kind of thing. This is Central York High School's gym. This is Pencrest High School's gym. And so that brings us to your projects with about 10 minutes left here. So Harry and I are going to buzz pretty quickly through this. We never do this work without all of the constituents. So when we came for the interview, we actually presented concepts because I think we were asked to present concepts. I would reel all of that back and say, we hate to do that without your input, because our process is typically this. This happens to be how Upper Merion worked, and it included all of these folks: school board, district administration, building admin, students, and public. And we went through the entire master planning process for about a year with them, and then we got into the design and planning process, and that's what you're seeing here. And you're seeing the kids actually involved also in doing some really cool planning on their own part. This was just, I got to tell you how much, you know how much fun that is. You guys are involved with education. But they were heavily involved. That's the actual building program right there. And they were actually doing these kinds of layouts. The spatial cognition, the project-based understanding, they can do it. It was great. They're better than we are. And there we are sorting out what that building's going to be in a large group, sorting out how that site's going to work, creating a building diagram, creating a building plan, and then building that right into something that now Ken's site plan is becoming part of, and our building is becoming part of. So, Herrick, can we do these quickly?
We can do them real quick. Okay, so to spend a couple minutes just looking at the high school, and as David said, we really feel that at this point we've done this in a vacuum. So we really, moving forward would kind of throw it all out. However, I did have an opportunity to meet with the principal and spend a couple minutes and just to get some initial ideas. And one of the things we initially talked about was circulating through the site. How can we improve circulation? How can we improve field layouts? What do field layouts look like? Can we fit everything on the site? Can we look at possibly some turf fields or a combination of? Obviously, keeping budget in mind from the get-go and what we can do with all the spaces. We looked at kind of a reorganization, bringing the main access along the stadium, still maintaining a buffer and a kind of large parking area, to also help identify the main entrance and main focal point of the school. In doing that, we felt it important, looking at the additional program, to set it in a way that would have a secondary main entrance or an entrance for the community, after hours into the building. Understanding a little bit of the program, how we want to be able to look at moving lockers all on the first floor, possibly flipping the TV studio and the girls' locker room with one another, just in the program space. Also looking at how kind of this interior core of athletics work and the locker rooms work with circulation for an event, a basketball event, volleyball event, and things get kind of bottlenecked in a certain area, an entrance. So we looked at the program, how things can work in a dual fashion with the pool, with the main gym, with a full-size auxiliary gym, along with the other space, as well, kind of renovating and backfilling some of the spaces. So with that secondary entrance, kind of off of that main loop, kind of athletic department, athletic offices with weight room, training room, separating the concession and ticket booth. Again, a full court of a auxiliary gym with the possibility of some sense of seating in here. Begin to look at, and one of the things we like to play with, and is, Mike even talked about systems and BIM, and able to model these pretty quickly to give you a full sense of really what they look like. And as we get into them further, some walkthroughs, how furniture can react in flexible environment, and people are circulating in these spaces, conference rooms, some of the furniture, training room. So it gives you an idea, really, in capability. Just a kind of very schematic model, begin to look at how that main entrance works with the secondary entrance, and kind of seamless addition, and really, at the end of the day, you say, well, what did you do? But we added the program to the building. From a schedule standpoint, I won't spend too much time with it, but we kind of kept this from the standpoint of a May, June, starting work kind of May, June, getting into actual construction, basically a year from now. There's variations and phasing of a project like this through guaranteed savings program. You talked about some kind of ESCO or energy management program, so phasing that over time. An occupied building, how we build the addition first, and then we could renovate the spaces and look at that over a period of 2 to 3 summers.
Okay, and I'm going to pretty much buzz through this because I want to respect the couple of minutes we have left. We took some of the concepts that you saw earlier, and again, this doesn't happen without actually working with you guys directly. But looking at that site, there are a couple of things, and Ken, I'm going to steal your thunder for a couple of minutes if you're all right. Now, Ken's team put together a site plan for your feasibility study that works. It works pretty well, and so we kind of adapted ours to the same concept, knowing that as we drive by this thing every day from Manayunk to our Bucks County projects, we drive by and up that hill. And so we've got this great hill to work with, which out at Twin Valley, we did one of those buildings where it stepped down the hillside in a very similar format. Carlisle Road becomes a pretty important access point in some ways. Now, of course, now we have to think about traffic as we do that. And of course, Montgomery Avenue has this great access for buses. One of you guys, and I can't remember who brought it up last time, though, that Skyline Drive, we want to respect the neighbors and make sure that the view shed from there is a good view, and talked about the possibility of green roofs to try to respect whatever building sits in that spot. And so, Ken, here, I'll speak for you. We were looking at that same concept that he was with bus drop-offs that could also become hard surface play, some means to get an access point from Paper Mill across from Carlisle Road, with a loop through for parent drop-off, a van drop-off area. And what happens is this is at the upper level, and these two step down to a 2-story level from that upper level. And so some of the concept, some of those ideas that you saw in some of the earlier concepts were all of the teaming spaces. Then you see more or less classrooms, but they also have small group instruction spaces at the center of each of them, so you can pull a child out right during a class and not have to pull them down the hall or into the hall. You've actually got breakout spaces within the classrooms. This is what we're doing at Phoenixville as well. So it's almost like the child is going from the bedroom to the living room to, and that in our world, the living room is the media center space, and then of course all the community functions are on their own level that can be entered and accessed at night. So this is representing a building that could probably have kindergarten in one area, first grade and second grade in another, or depending on your grade configurations you guys go, it could be a K1 building, K1-2. It's all a function of how we can sort out the rest of your structures. So that's what the building is doing. It's all gathered around the learning resource space. The learning resource space has the learning stairs that access up and down points, and then a big maker space as part of that program. Again, aesthetic without talking to you is a pretty dangerous thing to do, but we like to introduce daylighting into the corridors as well if we can on the second level, so you're seeing lots of access points for daylight at the roof level. You're seeing a building that is actually using that hillside, and these are the grades coming from the current site. And again, play areas, they could be anything, but this is the view across from Carlisle Road looking at a main entry, and then there's another main entry for a parent drop-off here, all focused around the admin center from a security perspective. So again, it's fun for us to do one of these because it gives us a chance to do a sketch concept and model it very quickly and work within some of the parameters that Ken can from a site perspective, showing some of the places that Mike would have to run his systems, and you can see how the building steps down the hillside. But again, we would want to work with you on all of this. So we have a process here. I'm just going to go ahead and finish real quickly, if you don't mind, Hare, sorry. We believe that we were working towards some of the schedule concepts that you guys had originally looked at with this building. They work. It's always a question of land development approvals, which is why we have people like Ken Bissinger on board, because they really make this stuff happen. And then we have to figure out what to do with Enfield. And I will tell you that there are many concepts. We have one where we do a new field house and playing fields in the place of the building. We have another, and there's how that could potentially look. We have another where we keep some of your existing facility and step some of the playing fields around, knowing that you've got the big stormwater retention area. So there are all kinds of things that we would have to work with you there. I'll leave you with this. Ultimately, you need to hire a firm that's going to get you from A to Z with a project that has as few problems as possible in the end, and a building that's going to be durable and last. However, what we think we bring to you is a process that your entire community is going to enjoy because they're going to be involved in the process. and the concept of looking from the child out and hoping that we can really represent what the child needs for the next generation in a building like this. And so if you've called our clients, you hear that generally our buildings are under budget, they're always within schedule, and hopefully what you really heard was that they had a great process and a great end result from a building, because really that's what we're all aiming for. So hopefully that was the end result of that. And then just a bunch of the districts we've worked with locally and around the area. And I guess I would kind of leave it at that and open it for the 15 minutes of questions you had programmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Sorry.
Oh, thanks. Hi. I thought that was great. I especially appreciated the focus on new learning styles and models. And so if you can guarantee the under budget and on time thing, I think that would be a nice. But I did have a question. I know we're talking about doing an early learning center, and as we know, we have our Erdenheim school. But one of the things I think about as I watch our community is I don't know what I can predict what will happen in the next 10 years, 20 years, 40 years. So is there any possibility of designing, I know when you design for littler students, that you'll be able to, cross-pollinate? So it's a little unique to have early learning and then the upper schools in another place. You could envision maybe someday saying, well, I don't want that. I want a community school in where Erdenheim is, and I want one here. Is there any way to design buildings like this, or is that just asking for your cake and eat it too?
No, I get that. The good news is Erdenheim was already designed with a number of these concepts. You have the teaming spaces in there. You've got the clustering of classrooms. And I've been through that building probably 6 or 7 times now, because we did an assessment of it some time ago just from a capacity standpoint. It's a great building. So that building already has a lot of the ideas that we would generate here as well. And I'm saying that because there are 2 things that come to mind to answer your question. The one is there's got to be some flexibility in the building. And one of the things that you'll get out of a lot of our buildings now from a flexibility standpoint is we're doing almost everything not with block walls interior, but drywall walls, and then some sort of product covering to make sure that the kids' hands running along that are not marking up all the drywall. But what that gives us is the ability to change the interior of that building. So flexibility, you could even flip it around and say someday Erdenheim is going to be a K1 and the other building is going to be a higher primary grade level. And if that's the case and we have to change some things, just rip out the walls and change it. But I think the point is, if you're trying to make neighborhood schools, which I think was that second concept you talked about, then this building will likely reflect a lot of the ideas that Erdenheim already has. And so therefore, people hate when I use this term, but if you're using a parity concept for the buildings, there will be some parity because that building is already a beautiful building with a lot of great ideas in it. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's how I look at your district and see those buildings.
I think on that note, I remember when you presented to the property committee meeting, you talked a little bit about the high school and the fact that you do higher education buildings, and you put some of that thought into what you were thinking about with our high school. Could you just talk about that a little bit too?
Yeah, I think Harry had started that conversation. You remember that part of it? Okay, so we've been doing a lot of work with Bucks County Community College, and if I were to go and we're looking at it the way you're looking at it, K to 14. And actually right now, you guys are going to almost have to look at pre-K to 14, right? So we're all looking at that structure and trying to think how that evolves. So if you look at our Bucks County projects, for instance, you'll see that what we've done in the community college scope of work is tried to bring the things that we all got at the higher, actually all of our kids are getting, at the higher education institutions today, which are the large community spaces, the almost Barnes & Noble type spaces that you can go learn and read and grab all of the things that you need from your Starbucks or whatever we want to call it, and bringing those things back down to the community college level. So those ideas that we have from there, the counseling suites, these great technology spaces, are all being brought into the high schools. And so that's the kind of stuff that we would try to bring back down to the high school level, and which we're doing in all of the high school work that we're doing right now. So because collaboration is so important in our world, and I'll say the other Springfield school district, the one in Delaware County, we actually have one of the world famous higher ed and high school firms, Perkins and Will, working with us. And that's another one of those venues where we learn an awful lot from them about what's out there in the high school and higher ed community. So all of that stuff would dribble down to our project here.
Is there any you folks in the audience that have any questions?
Can you just talk a little bit more about the sustainability aspects that you bring into your design?
Yeah, I think, so I think one of you asked, and it may have been you at the last discussion, why the building was not oriented east-west, the academic spaces. And the first thing that Mike will do is he'll say, why haven't you oriented the building east-west? Because that creates a much more even heating and cooling load on the building and allows him to tune the systems a lot better towards the building. Am I saying that okay, Mike?
That's correct.
I'm speaking for people who didn't get to speak. I apologize.
I'd also add that because of the use of technology and BIM and Revit and those kind of things, we can pull from that model much earlier and develop our energy models so that we can kind of play the what-if game. What if we change the windows and fenestration to a different type, or orient it differently, or make it larger, make it smaller, and then we can model that and actually do daylight modeling analysis very early on in the program development and design process, much easier and much more accurately than we could in the past. And as far as sustainability, I would offer that our firm designed the first LEED Platinum elementary school in the state of Pennsylvania. It's actually right down the street from our home office, so we're very proud of that. We learned a lot through that process, and we're actually able to apply that and leverage that knowledge on all of our projects.
And I guess you've seen Ken's projects. Ken Bissinger obviously is always designing sites very sustainably, and probably the big one for us besides all of the materials and the sourcing and all of those is daylight. And any of our buildings that you walk in, you'll probably be overwhelmed by the daylighting, and then you'll get frustrated by the number of windows that have to be cleaned. So that's the flip side of that. We did not have two very important people speak, and that is Courtney and Monique. And the reason that they didn't speak was because, as I said, Courtney was away. She was abroad during the interview, so she was not as much part of the preparation. Normally she would be. Here I am speaking for another person. She is a world-class project manager and would carry this project through. And Monique has been by our side, my side, probably for what, 18 years or something like that? Putting these projects together from the project architect standpoint and also the architecture/interior standpoint. So I think you have a rock-solid team here in front of you, and we would just love to do the projects for you. So thank you for the opportunity.
I'll ask a question.
Yes, sir.
So when you talk about sustainability, you talk about like building materials and energy. What about also just like having a building that teaches about sustainability?
Yeah, thank you.
To the kids, so like having like a garden.
Yep.
With using rainwater runoff, generating power from water runoff.
Yep, so thank you. That's really great. Building as a teaching tool obviously is actually one of the lead criteria. Now how you do that, you can get away with it with almost anything, unfortunately. So let's pull LEED out of the picture and let's talk about how a building is a teaching tool. This building is the building that you saw all those images of all of the piping and so on. That's a ground source heat pump building. And the kids, right as you walk in the entry, the ground source heat right on the left-hand side, there's all of the piping that comes into the building. The manifold sits right there behind glass. And it says Zone 1, Zone 2, and it shows which rooms it goes to. The kids get everything they need to know about how ground source works there. As they then walk into the building, everything is color-coded so they know how a building functions, which is a great thing for young children. And then this building has an entire garden concept right through the center, which in the very fast time that we went through with you, did not show you that the concept that we threw together for you also had that in here. So between the garden concepts and all of those site-related items, that's why we have people like Ken and Mike on our team. That's a great question. Thanks.
Dave, thank you so much for bringing your whole team, and Harry for a great presentation and for really sharing so much about your company with all of us. Thank you all for being here as well, and we look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Good. Thank you so much, folks.
This is KCBA. Dr. Hacker will give us a brief introduction, and then we'll get underway. Good to see you all again. I saw you at the property committee.
Thank you. Must we use the mic, or can we just project?
We are recording this, so if you
would prefer
could use the mic, I would prefer that. Thank you.
So welcome, everyone. We're very happy to have you back. As we explained to the rest of the board members who are not a part of the property committee, our selection process really included having an initial narrowing down of a field of 6 architects who responded to our request for proposals, and you are one of the 3 that we've invited back. So I would just like to introduce our entire board back to you, some of whom you've already met at the property committee meeting. Janine DePaul Nelson. She was there, but not visibly there. Walter Lapidus, who is also one of our board members who was on that committee. Kat Sarsfield, who is our board vice president. Gretchen Slapinski, who is our board president, who was present at the time. James Taylor, who is our committee chair for the property committee meeting. Ben Rayer, board member. John Chapman, board member. And of course, Ken King, our business manager as well. So anytime you're ready, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, is this on? I don't know how to run one of them. Is that good?
He's going to tell you.
We're off to a bad start. Is this on? You picked the one guy that technically, these guys could run it. It's not. It doesn't sound very loud. All right. Well, thank you for introducing yourselves, and I will start by introducing our team. My name is Jay Clough. I'm the managing principal of KCBA Architects, and I want to tell you thank you. Thank you for having us back. We're glad we made the cut. And we're still excited, as we were before, about the potential of all the projects that you have on the table and about the possibility of working again in your district. What I want to do is have each of the team members that came with me today introduce themselves, and they'll briefly state their roles. My role, as you might imagine, as the managing principal, is to make sure you got the staff, make sure we're making the deadlines and making sure we're on the budget. I do wear 2 other hats for this project. I will be directly involved, along with the civil engineer, who you'll meet in a minute, with land development, because in the suburban context, I think that's the key to getting your project out on time. That's really a big part. And also in the public presentations as well.
Hi, I'm Ken Kaufman. I'm from Moore Engineering Company, and I'm a mechanical engineer. Be involved in the mechanical and electrical engineering. And we've been working with KCBA for a long time, and we're involved in energy modeling and looking at your systems from an energy standpoint and how we can implement them into your buildings.
Hi, Terry DeGroot, Terraform Engineering. We are that critical land development component. We're doing civil engineering, working closely with this board and your staff, as well as Jay. We do have experience in the township. Matter of fact, we've worked at this site in the past, so looking forward to it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Schoenharl. I'm the interior designer and associate at KCBA Architects. I've been there for 15 years, and I work closely with Mike and Eric on the space planning and programming and colors and finishes for the project.
My name is Eric Ginelli. I will be the project manager. I got over 20 years experience in the field on handling these kind of renovations and new building projects. I'm also, I live right down the street on the other side of Willow Grove Ave, so I'm very local to the site and to your community. I will be your day-to-day contact, and I'll be here visiting the site as I go to work. So every morning I'll probably visit the contractors, see how things are going, so we make sure answers are dealt with right away.
Hi, I'm Mike Kelly. I'm a partner along with Jay and Eric of KCBA Architects. I'm the head of design for our company. I'll be working with you guys throughout the project, looking at space planning as well. I'm going to show you some ideas tonight that we have for some of your projects and some of the other opportunities that we've done with some similar projects to yours. I'm also a LEED accredited professional, so I have a degree of expertise in sustainable design. And along with Jay, he and I are on a committee for AIA, American Institute of Architects in Pennsylvania, for education. So anything regarding PlanCon and Pennsylvania and all these other things, we might not know it, but when the people find out what it's going to be, we'll probably know first. So we're on a very good committee, and we're happy to be a part of the interview tonight.
All right, and the team is rounded out by Corsi Associates, who you see there. Corsi would be the person that would take care of all the food service stuff. All the people that are standing here, as well as Corsi, have worked with us a long, long time, and they're working with us on many, many projects, so that's kind of a good thing. Pretty tough competition, and again, I think what I'd like to do is actually give you a reason to kind of remember our team. What I think our team has some special attributes. Number one is our experience. We are been doing K-12 facilities for over 40 years. I think we do it pretty well. We are really proud of the fact that we have designed 4 of the top performing 15 high schools in the state of Pennsylvania, and that is basically set by the PA Performance Review. So you can look it up and find those, and that was kind of a fun thing. We are currently doing 6 high schools right now. We're working today on 6 high schools in our office and 2 elementary schools. So we really, what that means to you is we really understand educational trends in the K-12. Next one. In terms of our staff, you can imagine it takes a pretty good sized staff to do that. We have that. But I think more importantly, we have a specialized staff, and it makes us different than other architectural firms. You met Mary, interiors done in-house and space planning done in-house. We also have our own code specialist in-house. We have our own structural engineer. It's a big deal when you're doing renovations to have that. Those people are only a few desks apart. Again, what does it mean to you? It kind of means that when we have an unforeseen thing that comes up in the field, we can get there real quickly, get a solution sketched out, and keep the contractor working. It also means because we're only a couple desks apart, we have a pretty good control over the documents, and we can put together really, really tight construction documents. We missed one in that. Go back one. Everything we do is done in 3D, and we're going to show that to you in shortly. 3D modeling. But what that means is you got a better idea of what we're trying to communicate, and we can all discuss things better together. Now you can switch it. All right. We have developed a system, as you can imagine, doing all those projects of collaboration and getting from the community all the input that's required to make the correct decisions. And we will tailor that to you. We're going to make sure we get the people that you want us to touch base with. But of that system, the most key component to that system is communication. We really feel that's important. And because it's so important, we're going to make you this promise. We will meet, anybody you see standing here, we'll meet anytime, we'll meet any place, we'll meet as long as you want, because we want to make sure we're all focused on the same ideas and we're all headed for the same goal. Our goal in this case is to make sure that when we get done, the building is your building. It's what you want it to be, not something that's ours that we pushed on you. So, to make that promise, it's, to unlimited meetings, it's not really a big deal for us. We are just up and down 309 from you, about 15 miles. And here's the big kicker. Eric only lives down the block. So if we run out of places to meet, we'll meet at Eric's house. So we're covered. We're good for that. And as Eric says, he goes by here every day so he can stop in and take good care. We are also working all around you, repeat clients, so we really understand the construction climate in this area. So you know a little about us. We're going to shift the conversation now and talk about how we manage your projects.
Thanks, Jay. So there's 3 parts of the project that we were looking at. There's the manager project, engage the community, and your vision. So we're just going to go ahead and hit the manager project portion of this. Go ahead, Dwayne. We're going to bring everybody together, the facilities, your board, your faculty, our design team, your CM, and so that's going to be part of this big project management team. So there's a lot of pieces that are being involved in this. So at that point, we'll break it down into making a stakeholders team or leadership team, where we listen to what everybody's asking for, what their needs are. We try to build excitement and enthusiasm about the project. We get everybody to buy into the project. So this is part of what that team will do. And there is no successful project if it's not on budget. That budget isn't just at bid time. It's the budget at the end of the construction when you've moved in and everybody's gone. That's a successful project. And how are we going to do that? Well, we have our own independent cost estimator to verify those numbers so that we know where the construction cost is or what the total project cost is. We also look at value engineering as we go through, and we keep a spreadsheet that you see here live. While we meet, whether it's bi-weekly or weekly, we keep it live. So if we make adjustments, we know what those costs are. We use bid alternates. We never could know the total bid environment. So we had to put alternates in there, so whether or not we can get more purchase out of the building, or have to be careful in the event that the market is saturated and the bids go up. But we use alternates to help protect the owner on those kind of things. We also use we also have a great method of showing change orders. You can go to the next slide, and we use a quality control system in our office. It's an Excel spreadsheet that we use with our entire team, the CM, as well as Craig and your facilities, so that we document things that are either wanting to be on there, that haven't gotten on the documents yet. So we keep a running list, so we make sure we check those things off, that those things are on the documents prior to going to bid. It's been one of our successful tactics, making sure our bids are good and our construction is good. And another tool that we use is Revit. It's a BIM operation. So here you kind of see what the building would look like. You start to peel it away, you'll see the structural, the ductwork, electrical, plumbing. So we don't have any conflicts. We build everything in 3D, so we don't have any conflict on day one. So when we come out to the field, if in an existing condition we find something we didn't know about, we have it in 3D model, we can make a reroute, we can do it before anybody gets into the field and starts building anything. So it protects the owner. So it's a great tool for us in the construction side. A great instrument of that software is that over at Bucks County Community College, we were able to use this to utilize how much steel we were using in the building. Realized that we had $200,000 into the steel budget. Found that we could pull that out, and in this case, they were able to use it for better software and hardware in their building. So it's a great tool. It allowed them some flexibility in their design and their building there at Bucks County. And we'll use that here as well. And here's the proof of the pudding. Here's several jobs, some on construction, some have finished, that are on budget and on time. The system works, and we're proud of it. Another thing that we look for is grant monies. If there's any opportunities for you guys to get monies or gifts from the state. In this case, at Pottsgrove High School and Hopewell Elementary School, we're able to secure $2 million at Pottsgrove, I think $1.8 million at Hopewell through the ACE grant. So we'll look for those kind of opportunities for Springfield. And sustainability. We believe in this. We always look for options for sustainability, high-performing systems. But what we do is we give you what it costs, how its life cycles are, what it's going to cost you over the course of time, and whether it's worth, what the payback is for it. And so we try to give you all that information so you can make the best decision for your community. But we believe in it. It's why we will put it out there for you so that everybody are informed of your options. And we're going to move on to engage the community.
Thanks. I'm going to talk a bit about engaging the community because it is such an important part of the process of any type of building construction. We've done quite a lot of these projects, renovations of high schools, new schools, closures of old schools. People can come out. The public is always interested, and some may be more in favor than others, let's say. And what we've found is the best way to do that is schedule a lot of events for community engagement. This is just a schedule as an idea, but the idea is that we would have, where we found the most success is community tours. You walk through the building, you walk through the high school so people can understand, and the information doesn't come necessarily from us, it comes from you, it comes from students, it comes from the educators. It comes from people walking into the elementary school and saying, there's some security issues at the front door here, and there's some inabilities for us to expand our curriculum to where we really want to be, and here, let me show you why. We felt that when the community walks through these buildings, they really get an understanding of why there's a need. Then what we can do after that in some town hall meetings, following when the design has come along a little bit further, is we show, well, now you all know the needs of the building, and you've walked through these things. Here's the opportunities that we have. What can we do now with a brand new building? What can we do now with a new face to the high school and some of the things that we want to fix over at the athletic area? What are the opportunities that we can do? And now all of a sudden people are more excited. We start to get public coming out to board meetings telling you should go build this project. And yes, we should be doing these things, which is certainly better than the alternative. But what we found and what we can work with you is planning this type of community engagement successfully throughout the project. This is a video here of us at Penns Valley. And again, we kind of showed some of this before. We did a walkthrough. It was an hour-long walkthrough of the building. We came into the auditorium, brought everybody in. The superintendent spoke, the principal spoke, the curriculum director spoke, and then I got up and kind of talked a little bit about some of the, the roof leaking in the windows. But then we showed them, okay, you've walked through the lobby, but now walk through the lobby this way. Walk through it here. Walk through the now secured vestibule and the auditorium, or the administration area space that now has proper security. Walk through the new library, because the library right now is a mess, and everybody kind of was able to stand there and go, yep. And then we were able to come in and walk through this. So it was through a series of meetings that really got a lot of public buy-in for that project. This is another video. Again, we're trying to show high schools and elementary schools. This is one we did at Southern Lehigh for the elementary school. This is just of the library space, but we talked about the opportunities for a new building. Here we can have a library that's more of a media center and a classroom, and the images you saw around were actually acoustical panels, but we were able to face them with childhood authors. So the kids had a little bit more input into the space as well, so it felt a little bit more like an elementary school. So those are the types of tools that we use. Certainly social media, everybody's going to have a page or two about these things. We posted some of these videos on a YouTube channel, gave everybody the address to that, and I heard stories from school board members that were stopped in grocery stores and they pulled out their iPhone and said, see what we're doing? And it was accessible to everybody. All the images, all the videos, all the things that we do are yours. So we give them to you, you share them however you feel is appropriate, but again, it's building consensus throughout the district, it's building excitement as well, and we've got a pretty successful way of doing that, and we'll certainly implement that here as well. Lastly, for community, this was Northampton area, and one of those meetings we had, we were building the new middle school on top of an old Atlas concrete plant. The Northampton, they're the concrete kids. Everything there is about concrete. So we said, well, what we could do is at the front door here, we could create a mural here of the old site that they got from a museum that's actually down the street, and a couple of famous buildings and famous areas from around the world that some of their concrete helped build. So this was a community expression, kind of another level from the museum that's from their town, and it was another great way to kind of engage the community. And these buildings are community buildings. They're schools. They're here for all of our students, all of our children, but they're also used for community use as well. So, achieving your vision. We're jumping into your part. And Eric and I are going to go back and forth a little bit and show you some ideas that we have, and again, some of the tools that we use to portray them. We always show this slide, education and operation. You're hiring an architect, so we're going to come in, we're going to make a building and windows and roofs that don't leak. Well, we're also building a school, and that's equally as important, if not more. It's a school for education. How do you want to teach your kids in a K-2 level in an elementary school in the future? How can we implement these visions that you guys have and the goals that you have in this school? And that's why we feel we do a little bit more of that than maybe others. We focus on the education portions before we get into floor plans, and before we get into things, because we really want to hear that from you. We have ideas on how the building can function and work well, as any architect would, but there's a great understanding of the purpose of this building. That process that Eric talked about with stakeholders, bringing people together, talking about the program needs, talking about the building needs, how green do we want to go, how far up that ladder do we want to go. We take all those things in and we provide a series of options. We're always going to show a lot of options, and a lot of those options will come with budgets. It doesn't make sense for us to show you anything you can't afford, so we always want to make sure that we're showing you the option. Here we heard last time, you asked for this, okay, here's what that might look like, but here's the budget implications along the way, so we're always up front with everybody as we move forward. So looking at these three projects, we can start up at the Enfield site, and we'll work with you on some project goals. Certainly here we want to look at what we can do with the site after the building is left over. But what I like is number 3, about exploring opportunities on how we might save taxpayer money, how we may be able to implement this site maybe a little bit further and provide some community use to the site when the education portion of the school comes down. So you want to take it?
Thanks, Mike. So here's Enfield. I'll go ahead to the next slide, Mike. You got the storm basin down on the lower side of the site. The parking here is a little congested and it's not easy to follow. So go ahead, Mike. So what we're proposing to do is to keep the basin down there and have the athletic field up on the upper hillside. And the purpose of that is that in the event that you put a synthetic field on there and you have to have stormwater management, you have it. In the event that you have to put another structure there somewhere down the road, you have stormwater. So we thought that was probably the better attack on that site. And then obviously have a softball or little league field over in one corner. But you can see how the traffic would have, the parking lot would have been a little easier to work. So we also took a look at this site. What if we kept that gym that in the library that was an addition in the 90s, and it already has a self-contained rooftop unit. We probably just have to add an elevator and a new entry and bring some utilities to it. But it might become an investment property for you guys to rent out to the community or other associations. By turning the field parallel to Church Road, we can put some sports netting there to protect any balls from getting in and out. We believe that's another option for you to consider because it might bring some income to your township.
So at the Antonelli site, we wanted to share a couple of ideas there as well. Again, some more goals. What can we do to integrate some site issues there? And again, now we have this great opportunity to provide a new modern building. What does that want to be? We shared with you last time some ideas, but one of the things we want to focus on as well are, again, that educational setback. We're going to stop and we're going to say, okay, what are our educational goals? What are the opportunities that we have here? We get to build a brand new K-2 school. This is a school that a child's going to go to for the first time entering a school. How do we want to integrate that? How do we want a child to react? What opportunities do we want to have there? What don't we have now that we're dying to integrate into our buildings? So things like the K-12 curriculum, facility and operational needs, collaborative spaces. We're seeing, even at that lower grade levels, we're seeing collaborative spaces being introduced. What can we do that's better acoustically in the building than we have now? So we'll go through some of those educational needs. The environment. How do we want it to look? Not only just colors and finishes and working with Mary and the design team, but aesthetics as well, technology. One of the reasons that schools built in the 50s aren't working anymore is because they're not flexible. So if we build flexible buildings that can be adapted over time, we're not going to be back here in 20 years having to knock this down and start over again. We're going to create something so that in 20 years, when California invents something new, it can be integrated easily into your classroom. And lastly, again, community and operations. The ability to have the holiday concert, back to school night. How does the building want to function for a community use separate from educational use as well? So this is the existing site. We took a look at just the overall topography. Obviously, it slopes from back to front there. But there's some great opportunities in the slope site like that to provide accessibility and entrances from two different levels. A lot of times in schools, again, we want to kind of create a community component separate from an academic component, rather. It's always best to separate parents dropping off kids from buses. So maybe we can cut that site in half and have the public drop off up near the community components of a school, and then the academic area below with multiple play areas. We started to diagram that a little bit further and said, all right, well, if we have a secure entrance here, maybe there's a spot here that's a secure entrance and the center point of control for the whole building and monitoring. I'll move back so you guys can see. We zoom in a little bit more. We start to put those pieces together. What do I mean by the community components? Well, the admin space, the library, multi-purpose room, cafeteria, excuse me, art and music. And then we can organize the grade levels as we want, kind of going across the front of that building. We took a look at, again, we're architects now, we're starting to create something here. Kind of a curved front piece to that building. Maybe that allows for a separate kindergarten and learning center if the kindergarten is off to the side. At this core kind of cross intersection here, maybe an area for an active learning center. This was an idea then that we could have something that may happen at that intersection, the kind of heart and core of the building. Again, looking at the site, we have a bus loop down below and a pedestrian entrance, parent and ADA parking up top, and a pedestrian entrance. This was a view that we had from that upper level, talking about the front door of the building. Again, a very separate area for buses versus cars. And then as we look at the rear part of the building, several areas for play, another area over there, that kindergarten play area, maybe some garden spaces. We did have to go a little bit further, of course, than we did last time. So we zoomed in a little bit to that core area and said, all right, well, what could that look like? What if that is that center area? What if this is something that changes over time, but it's a core place? What if it's that place that the kids grab their parents' hand and go, we want to come see this space. We want to come take a look at that. So we said, all right, well, what if that is that space? And we'll work with you on what that can be. And this was the one space we had to explore a little bit with it. What could that space be? If that's the area coming across on the second floor, coming across, this is the apex of that school. This can be a space that can be 100 different things. It can be about art and music. It can be about science. It can be about a lot of things. So we dove in a little bit there. I want to show you an example quickly of a building that we did work a little bit further with on another client. So you can see buildings that are planned out all the way. This was an entry area here where we talked about a library and an art room with this kind of community core in the middle. And the flexibility of opening these library walls for children to spill out, that have learning outside the classroom there. Maybe conversely, you close that, you open up the art, and now the art projects spill out into the lobby. So those are all areas, again, where we're trying to show additional ways that the entire building can become an area for education, learning outside the classroom. Kindergarten center here that had a common core kindergarten area with a kindergarten playground and some kindergarten rooms. Again, an area within classrooms that can be opened up, but can be closed as well for small group instruction. So flexible areas that are functional and have a lot of adaptivity and flexibility. So, 5 minutes left. We're going to hit the high school. The project goals here, they're large. Reconfigure the site for better safety and site security, site circulation rather. A clear entrance of where the school wants to be, the front door of the building wants to be. And maybe, again, another opportunity to provide a fresh new face and atmosphere to the high school as you come in off the main road.
So here at the high school, go ahead, Mike, there was a couple things that we want to look at. Is we want to unify your campus. That was the number one element that we thought needed to happen here. Go ahead, Mike. So we looked at, you had your bus loop and service points over there at the part of the school, and you have your current parent drop off in your front entry. Your pedestrian entrance is here. So we took a look at where your hot spots are. Go ahead, Mike. The hot spots are anybody trying to make a left out onto Paper Mill. This intersection here, I've been here, and it's tough when the parents are dropping off, buses are coming in, students are walking in from their car. So you have to have staff out there. And then your front entrance is a little hidden from anybody coming to your campus. So, we looked at some options. Go ahead, Mike. We looked at some options on how can we address this. We looked at options, maybe bringing an access road in from Atwood and Fraser, but we know we'd upset the community, so we really didn't pursue that. We looked at Harrison, because we know they're going to be developing up there. Maybe we could tie this access road into Harrison's development, but do we really want kids driving through older housing? So we got away from that. So we looked at the next best option was to keep it next to the stadium. I'm sure you've envisioned that yourselves. So that's where we look. So we're going to go ahead and take you to the next point. One of the unifying elements for the site we looked at was tying your front entry into your stadium and identifying a place that identifies your school to anybody coming, any visitor ever coming here. As they come in your drive, they'll know where your entry is. They'll see the front of your building. It's a simple little change in your scheme, so it allows that identity. We looked at, tried increasing the parking for your events and what have you. So you have parent drop off here. We have this road that's going around back so that to alleviate the congestion that was there. They can either go all the way around the site and avoid the buses, avoid deliveries, and you can control those kind of accesses just by giving them another avenue around the site. We looked at some athletic fields over here that will be multi-use for soccer, field hockey, and baseball, as well as maybe a synthetic field for your stadium, so you can use it on more events and you won't have to worry about the turf getting all torn up. You have ADA access. So we looked at other areas for expansion of parking, as well as your tennis team could probably use the middle school site for their tournaments, but we looked at some other options. So maybe we could get some tennis courts here if it's just needed for your core gym classes, or if we need to get the 6 that you need There's an opportunity back there. So we'll look at all those options with you. This is just a vehicle that we try to show you how we work. Go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
So as we kind of showed before, I'm going to launch the actual model here. We had several different ideas for the high school. Why is it not letting me? Talk for a minute while I try to get the computer to work.
So one of the other things that could happen here with this core access is that there could be an event place here, could be a shed, could be some tables underneath that shed, or it could be concessions. I know that there was somebody who was asking about adding some restrooms to the existing field house. So that little element could be multiple things that may serve you better. I think we're trying to get you a model so you can, Mike was going to fly inside the addition so you can see what we did with the locker rooms and TV studios and how we were linking your fitness to your gym and your cardio to your athletic fields. See if you could just use your imagination.
This is the existing site, and as we've talked a little bit about, there was we opened up the roof. So we have all these things in live models, and we can open up the roof. One of the things we found was obviously a disconnection of the locker rooms. You've got locker rooms on 2 floors. You've got a pretty tight lobby here. Public restrooms are pretty small and in the back. So one of our thoughts was to bring the girls' locker room downstairs, renovate the boys, create a larger lobby area in the front here, secure vestibule, tickets and everything moved to the front, some toilet rooms that are a little bit closer to the front of the school as well. With the lockers themselves, one of the things we've been doing a lot is creating team rooms within them. We create shared plumbing in the middle here for efficiency, it reduces construction costs. Then we can provide kind of areas within locker rooms that can be shut down for team rooms, practice rooms. You can have physical education day to day and out in the main area, and then lock off areas for different sports. Over in the auxiliary gym, this is where the new toilet rooms would be. So now anybody coming into the auxiliary gym or into the main gym, you've got tickets, and public restrooms are right at the front of the building. Up on the second floor, some of the deficiencies we found were things like you've got to go through the girls' locker room to get to the weight room. That's probably not the best idea. So one of the solutions that we had there was to bring that TV studio up from downstairs that we had taken away, bring the girls' locker room back downstairs, have a classroom, control room, and studio. But then what we're doing is creating the weight room and a fitness room up on that upper level. We've got a team meeting room, which was part of your program, that can certainly act as a classroom during the day. But we're providing fitness and a weight room in an area that's located off the main lobby. You can see it from the gym, but it's also now part of this general circulation in the high school. So whether you're on the football team and you want to come and work out, or if you're somebody that just wants to take 20 minutes on the treadmill, we can start to teach healthy living as part of the curriculum. Now it's all linked to the school, and you have a lot of other avenues and varieties and ways to communicate that type of healthy lifestyle living. So it's not just for the kids on all the sports teams. So this is that view of the existing building, and here's kind of a vision of what that could look like from the front as we build out for that new admin space. As we enter and go kind of into the lobby space here, you can see a much larger, much more dramatic space, the team room up above. We can have a wall of fame, areas for trophies and things, but it's a much larger space than what you have now. We can go upstairs into the weight room and kind of see out again into overlooking the gym. So again, the athletics, people that are understanding that a lot of core training is important to increase your abilities for athletic performance, but also again, you're off a main hallway right outside the library for healthy living and activities throughout the day.
It's also being used at a lot of the universities now, where they're linking the core training to their athletics as well as for their students to see it. So it's something you're seeing in the higher education.
So again, lastly, to kind of show you some ideas again, that new auxiliary gym space would certainly be large enough for basketball, but certainly would work perfect for wrestling and dance. And then we're just showing that from the outside, how that looks, you know, as people are coming in, this brand new face, this brand new traffic pattern around the building, coming up from the main road here. These are the things, you know, you start to see as you're coming in. You've got athletics at both sides, but that's now the public face as people are entering into the public side or the athletic side of the school. So sorry for the computer glitch there, but otherwise I think we're about right on time there. So we're happy to take any questions that you have.
So just briefly before we entertain any questions, I just want to welcome the large crowd that we have here this evening, and thank you for your patience and for being so quiet. This is the second of 3 presentations that we have scheduled for this evening. These are well open to the public, and the purpose of the presentations is for architects that we have selected as the result of a narrowing down process for some future construction projects that we are considering here in the school district. So it's fortuitous that all of you came a little bit early prior to the board meeting so that you could kind of get a glimpse into some of the things that we are looking at, one of which is some major renovation work at the high school, but the other, probably the most exciting portion, especially for our future elementary school children, is the potential construction of a new K-1-2 building. We've been talking about these projects after a long demographic study that took place in 2013. Once we recognized our enrollments were significantly increasing, we talked about it again after we commissioned a feasibility study to see what would it entail to perhaps build a new school and look at some changes at the high school. So we've actually been talking about many of these changes for the past 3 years, and now it's coming to fruition with the selection of an architect. So we issued a request for proposals. 6 architects responded. The property committee of our board has been having extensive meetings over the last 3 years, and in the last couple of months actually narrowed down the selection of those architects to the final 3. So you are now coming into the conclusion of the second presentation by KCBA Architects. The final presentation for this evening will actually take place at the end of the board meeting. So I know many of you are here to see your children win awards and certificates, but you're certainly welcome to stay if you would like to sit through the board meeting and wait for the final presentation, which will be approximately 7:40 this evening. So thank you for allowing me to interject all of that. And board members, if any of you have any questions, I'll turn it over to you first. Does anyone from the community have a question that you would like to ask? Again, these are not final plans. These are just ideas from architects that have been presented, but we wanted to give an opportunity to anyone who wanted to ask anything. Jay, we want to thank you and your entire team for being here this evening, for a great presentation. We very much appreciate everything that you shared with us tonight, and we hope to be in touch soon.
Thank you very much. Do you have some leave behind for all?
I'm going to ask the board, we can take maybe like a 3-minute quick break. We've been here since 5:30, so if anyone wants to take a quick break, and then we'll get started with the board meeting. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the School District of Springfield Township Board of School Directors Interim Board Meeting, June 7th, 2016. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reading of the mission statement, Ms. Sarsfield.
The mission of the School District of Springfield Township is to educate and develop all students as learners and citizens who are high-achieving, resilient, and responsible in a changing global community.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. King.
Mr. Chapman. Here. Mr. Salas. Mr.
Mr. Lapidus. Here. Ms. Nelson.
Here.
Mr. Ray. Here. Ms. Sarsfield. Here. Dr. Teratussel. Mr. Taylor. Here. Mrs. Lipinski.
Here. Announcements. The board, at its discretion, may videotape all or any portion of public board meetings subject to the limitations set forth in Policy 006.2, Broadcasting of Meeting. Board meetings will be broadcast on Friday afternoon following the board meeting. Are there any public comments on agenda items? No one said it. Reports and information. Presentations. Is it NAM or N-A-M-M?
NAM.
NAM Music Presentation, Dr. Nancy Hacker.
And I'm going to quickly turn it right over to two representatives from Zeswick Music, Zeswick's Music, who are here with us this evening, Randy Shaler and Tom Kelly. Welcome back, gentlemen. I believe you have something to present to us and to our music staff, all of who are here tonight. I just want to recognize Marcy, Andrew, Amy, Tyler, Matt, Chuck. Did I miss anybody? Is that it? Okay. All right, I'll turn it over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Hacker. I appreciate that. I was going to announce them, but thank you very, very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, school board. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name again is Tom Kelly. I'm the education representative for Zeswick's Music. To my left is the CEO and owner of Zeswick's Music, Mr. Randy Shaler. We're here back once again this year to present the Springfield Township School District the Best Communities for Music Education Award. Again, a lot of people go, NAM, what is that? That stands for the National Association of Music Merchants. And NAM had created a foundation 17 years ago where they gave the opportunity for school districts across the country to actually apply for this particular accolade. It is a rather lengthy application process. I believe Mrs. Klugman had the...
We did it as a team.
As a team. I stand corrected. As a team. You just don't apply for this particular award. It's based on the performance opportunities that are provided within the community for the enrichment of music education. It's just not about band, it's about chorus. It's also transcends into the theater department as well, because that's kind of a crossover. But nearly 4,000 school districts across the country actually applied for this particular award this year. I'm happy to say that Springfield Township was selected one of 382. So, quite an accolade. It's a testament to the administration, the community, the parents, the students, and certainly the staff here that work so very, very hard to enrich the lives of the students here with music education. So, we do have a little placard to present to Dr. Hacker. If you wouldn't mind coming up here, photo op, as well as perhaps the musical staff here. Round robin, if you will.
We're ready. Look at me, please. One more. Looks like you.
Mr. Puntel, Mrs. Posnansky, Mrs. Benton. Oh, sorry. All right, at this time, we would like to recognize the elementary students who attended the Pennsylvania Music Educators District 11 Song Fest, Elementary Song Fest, and the teachers will call out the names. Students, please line up in front of us.
From our 5th grade chorus, coming up to be with us are Lucas Davidson and Gabrielle Green. We'd also like to acknowledge Francis Holcomb and Alton Bullock.
And for our sixth graders who attended Elementary Songfest, if you're here, please come up when I call your name. First is Katie Eckert. Lucas McCabe. Olivia Gialdo. Amaya Murray. John, aka Jack Hannings. And Brooke Randa.
Thank you to the Elementary Songfest students. We will have your certificates outside after we all go outside from the music department. Would you please go back to your parents? Thank you so much. The next group of students, all of these are Pennsylvania Music Education Association festivals right now. Not everything we're saying tonight, but this one is. Also, we have Elementary Band Fest, and we would like to recognize the fifth grade students who represented the school at this festival. Anthony Lee, William Edis, Kaden Brunner, Franny Holcomb, Piper Silberman, and Brady Welsh. In addition to this group of fifth graders at the same festival were sixth graders.
The sixth graders who proudly represented Springfield Township were Sky Buckner, Katie Eckert, whom I see in the back, Jesse Goodman, who's on this print here? Attila Horvath, Charlotte Hartner, Miles O'Rourke, Eli Reuben Camp, and lastly, Jackson Tulo.
Thank you very much to everyone who attended Band Fest. Please sit down for a moment, and we will get your certificates at the end. We have a little bit of community conflict tonight. I know there's a playoff baseball game and a couple other things. So I apologize for some absence, which we don't normally have, but I've been made aware of these conflicts. Junior High Song Fest.
Those students participating in Junior High Songfest, that's for grades 7, 8, and 9. Trey Dubose. Ethan McBride. Michaela Mitchell. Sarah Beck. Lilia Mitchell. Carissa George. Jane Kutcher. And Lucas Eberly.
Page 1, done. Thank you very much for all of your beautiful voices. Please return to your parents. I want to take a minute and just do a commercial for you. This poster will be hung up in each of the buildings, and there should be 2 more already there. This is our 3rd year for this award, and we're very excited about it and hope to continue this level or even a greater level of music education in Springfield Township schools. So please look for this in your buildings. We're going to go on now with Middle School Montco Band, and Mr. Gottesman will call those names.
Thank you very much. Middle School Montco Band is not a PMEA event. Rather, it's a consortium of area schools who put a festival together for our best and most dedicated students. Springfield had the pleasure of hosting this event back in January. And I want to ask to come forward Jane Kutcher. Trey Dubose. Bobby Holcomb. Kate Kaufman. Ethan McBride. Patrick McCaslin. Michaela Mitchell. Julia Pratt. Ben Talley. And Ben Durham. Lucy Namira. Eva O'Melvin. Caesar Stringfield. Logan Warner. And John Yee. Thank you and congratulations to all of our middle school Montco Band members, and you may take your seats. Are your hands hurting from all this clapping? It's like the State of the Union address. I'm going to welcome up members of the high school Montco Band. High school Montco Band this year was hosted at Abington High School. And again, it's a consortium of area band directors sending our best and most dedicated students to this festival. And this festival took place at Abington in February. So if you like, we could hold the applause. I could call everybody up. Let me get up here. Alex Burek, Jeffrey Kutcher, Hannah Janneman, Devin Reed. I said hold the applause. Emma Lindsay, Samuel Zeman, Connor Namira, Raekwon Washington, Anna Adams, Mark Fields, Jared Massa, Max Michaels, and Max Zeman. Thank you and congratulations to all of our high school Montco Band members. And you may have a seat or a stand. Was that better, clapping once or clapping 1,000 times? Okay, next, I'd like to recognize the achievements of one young gentleman who auditioned for the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association instrumental ensembles. Made it through the first level of districts, placed high enough that he was in the top half of the section, could then move on to the region festival, and then was even selected to move on to the all-state level and represent Springfield at the Pennsylvania Music Educators All-State Convention in Hershey, Pennsylvania at the very beginning of April. So big congratulations for all of his hard work. Please help me congratulate Will Durham.
Thank you, Chuck, and thank you all. It is my distinct pleasure to call Alyssa Kerr to receive accolades for her participation and selection for First District 11 Chorus, Region 6 Chorus, PMEA, and also All-State Chorus for the convention at Hershey this year. Alyssa, please come forward. And Alyssa, if you'll just stay up here, we received notification about 2 hours ago that Alyssa was accepted. Her application was accepted for I can't even say it because it's never happened before, All National Mixed Choir 2016, which will be held in Texas. So we congratulate Alyssa on her acceptance. Mr. President.
So we appreciate the opportunity to send the students on to these advanced festivals. Are especially proud of the achievement of our students at each level and look forward, as you see this list was quite lengthy, and I'm very proud of having so many students part of these advanced festivals, and thank you the parents, as well as my administrators and community for the support and the opportunity for them to attend all, I can't even turn all the way around the room, for them to attend all of these festivals. So I thank you and congratulations for all the students. We'd like to do two things outside. One, we'd like to give you your certificates, and two, like other years, as many of you remember, we'd like to join up by a tree out there and get a group picture that we can put on the school district website. Thank you so much, and thank you, Dr. Hacker.
Thanks, Mrs. Klugman. I just want to say that the number of students and, of course, the families that support them that are in the room this evening certainly attest to the fact that it's easy to understand why our music program here in Springfield Township is truly one of the many points of pride. And we are proud of all of you and your accomplishments from the youngest children on up. We hope that our elementary school students will aspire to become the fabulous talents that our high school students are, and I can tell you you're well on your way. So congratulations to all of you, and take some great pictures for us.
Let's go to the lobby. It's a sun shower, but it's still. Let's go to the lobby and outside the auditorium.
There you
Mr. Nudek, if you could come up front, please. Mr. Nudek.
Hello? Hello? Is that on?
So now we're going to move on to the acknowledgement of Student Technology Award winners.
Hello? Is that on? No? Yes? Okay.
Oh, thank you. It's going to get a lot of hellos. Good evening, everybody. How you doing? Looks like our crowd thinned a little bit. That's okay. This year, my name is David Nudek, and I was the proud sponsor of these 4 fine young men. This year, we entered the Pennsylvania Computer Fair, and I should say, I'll start with how it all began. These 4 fine gentlemen, along with 8 other students, we had entered the Montgomery County Regionals, and these 4 gentlemen won in their computer programming category. So just for context, there were 6 categories that you could join or that you could compete in. There was web page design, graphic design, animation, digital movie, programming, and computer fair logo. So they won in their regional part, and then we progressed on to the state competition, which was held in Carlisle, Pennsylvania at Dickinson College. And all 4 of these gentlemen just did a tremendous, tremendous job. So I just want to introduce them, and we could talk a little bit about their project. This is Ben Durham, who you just saw a moment ago, and he entered the web page design. Not only did he design a web page for our Springfield Township Middle School Performing Arts, but he also coded the entire thing. A really impressive project. Jake McCabe here did, here, come on out here, guys. Jake McCabe here, he did also a wonderful job in animation. He is a stop motion animator, and his project was a day in the life of Batman, which was done with Legos. Pretty good. It was absolutely a wonderful, wonderful project. By the way, all of these projects can be seen. We have links to those projects, and we'll make sure that we can distribute those to everybody. This was a team here, so I'm saving them for last. We have Ben Conyers and we have Gus Dean, and they had entered the Computer Fair logo category. And not only did they make it to the state finals, like the rest of us here, but they also won. They are state champions. So just please give them all a round of applause. I should say this is a unique honor because not only are they recognized as the state champions, but their Computer Fair logo, which is right here, becomes the logo for next year's fair, which is just very interesting. So we'll see that all over the place next year on T-shirts, on their website, and whatnot. And as you can see, they've brought some of the things they had to do. They have a bigger placard. They made a 3D printed version of their logo in our makerspace, and they have our T-shirt here too. So please join me in recognizing these 4.
Mr. Nudek,
Yes.
can they turn around? So we can see?
Absolutely.
The logo? Yeah, you come on over. We won't bite.
Mr. Nudek, these 4 guys speak a language that most of us don't even understand. So we are incredibly proud of what they have done.
I understand.
Yeah, Gretchen, Ms. Slipinski understands it very well. But we do recognize quality work when we see it.
T-shirts are available after the show.
I'm dying to, but I'll wait. All right, we're going to move on to reports of committees. Property Committee, James Taylor.
Thank you. We had our Property Committee meeting on Friday, May the 20th, 2016 at 8:15 in the Administrative Conference Room. Our first thing was we did talk about the next steps in the architect selection, and for anybody that was here earlier, you did see the second presentation tonight. We went from 6 to narrow it down to 3 of the architects. We're trying to coordinate visits prior to any projects for feedback on each of the firms. And like I stated, we have one more presentation actually tonight right after our meeting as well. We reviewed the performance contracting for ESCO and LTCP. We also talked about the Service Master contract extension, which I believe we're voting on tonight, correct? And we also discussed the food service survey and NutriServe contract extension. And we also had a real estate discussion in an executive session before our meeting.
Any questions or comments for James? Moving on to new business. Number 1, personnel attachment. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the following personnel as presented in the attachment: administrative personnel, certificated personnel, support personnel, temporary personnel, extra pay for extra responsibilities, extended school year program personnel, conference workshop attendance. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chapman? Mr. Lapis? Ms. Nelson? Mr. Reyes? Ms. Sarsfield? Mr. Taylor? Ms. Linsky?
Aye. Number 2, renewal of food service management contract, 2016-2017 fiscal year. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the renewal of the food service management contract with NutriServe Food Management, Inc. at the flat fee of $30,900 for the 2016-2017 school year, attachment BBB. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
I apologize for my, I might have missed this, but we were going to wait to vote on this until the survey results came back, and I don't remember seeing them. I'm sure I just missed it, but could you tell us about that?
We did report that they had come back at the property committee, and in general, they were very favorable. There were some recommendations, and we're going to be funneling those recommendations to the food service people, so we're going to set up a meeting for them, and we're also going to be discussing some recommendations through the Wellness Committee, which will be starting in September.
Mr. King?
Mr. Chapman? Mr. Lapis? Ms. Nelson? Mr. Reyes? Ms. Sarsfield? Mr. Taylor? Ms. Linsky?
Aye. Number 3, 2016-2017 board meeting dates. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the board meeting dates for the 2016-2017 year, attachment CCC. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chapman? Mr. Lapis? Ms. Nelson? Mr. Reyes? Ms. Sarsfield? Mr. Taylor? Ms. Linsky?
Aye. Number 4, KidView Inc., days off. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the KidView Inc. days off proposal for the 2016-2017 school year as per the attached. Attachment DDD. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chapman? Mr. Lapis? Ms. Nelson? Mr. Reyes? Ms. Sarsfield? Mr. Taylor? Ms. Linsky?
Aye. Number 5, extended school year agreement with Devereaux. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the agreement between Devereaux and Springfield Township School District for student 201-60607-01 for the extended school year program. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chapman? Mr. Lapis? Ms. Nelson? Mr. Reyes? Ms. Sarsfield? Mr. Taylor? Ms. Linsky?
Aye. Number 6, confidential settlement and release. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the confidential settlement and release for student 201-60607-02. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments? Mr. King?
Mr. Chapman? Mr. Lapis? Ms. Nelson? Mr. Reyes? Ms. Sarsfield? Mr. Taylor? Ms. Linsky?
Aye. Number 7, joint services agreement. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the joint services agreement between the School District of Upper Dublin and the School District of Springfield Township for the 2016-2017 school year in the amount of $44,050. Attachment EEE. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
What committee would this agreement run up through? It's transportation facilities or property? How does it work?
I don't believe that we've actually put it through a committee before. It's been in place in the district for about 5 or 6 years.
Right. I know that. So I guess what I'm wondering is, so I'm fine, I'll vote for it, but I'm interested in maybe coming back and checking on how that's gone, because I know we've had some bumps along the way, so or maybe have a report to one of the committees, I don't think it has to be for the full board, on how it's going and what's working and what's a challenge.
Would you like a couple of brief sentences about that from Mr. King now?
Sure.
I'll brief. It's actually, it's going fairly well. We've helped Upper Dublin through some times. They've had some turnover. Mr. Johnson has been spending some time at Upper Dublin. Last year, he also spent some time at Centennial to help them through a transition period. So all in all, it's been favorable. We're helping Upper Dublin through, we share rides, we share runs. Upper Dublin takes advantage of our ability to purchase diesel fuel on bids. We've worked out some increases over the years, but all in all, it's been fairly favorable.
Anyone else? Mr. King?
Ms. Nelson. Mr. Ray. Ms. Sarsfield. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 8, Service Master Extension, recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves an addendum to the agreement with Service Master for the 2016-2017 school year, attachment FFF. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
Are you glad I'm coming to the board meeting?
We're happy to see you. We are.
So we've also had this agreement in place for a while and have had some bumps along the way. So I'm interested, how often do we survey staff, parents, and students where appropriate on what they think of the cleanliness of the facilities?
Not since I've been here.
Survey.
Oh, are you answering or am I? We haven't actually sent out a formal survey. We've entertained comments from staff members that are directed to us. We have facilities forms that staff can fill out when they have problems and issues and so forth. And we monitor those. We monitor the promptness to which those requests are attended to or any issues that are brought to our attention. So we monitor all of that data. We did have some issues last year, and we had some members of the public who came and brought some items to our attention, which were quickly remedied. And we felt that Service Master, particularly this past year, had really put a considerable amount of time and effort into remediating the issues that we made them aware of. And so we felt that based on that and their attentiveness, we would renew the contract for an additional year.
And so it's just for one more year. And then would we go out to bid the 2 more years? When's the last time we bid?
This is the 4th year. This would be years 3 and 4?
We'll go on a total of 6 years then without a bid.
No, this
But
would
this
be
is an addendum to the current.
4 years, 5 years.
With
They
the
came on board
addendum.
right before I came.
With the addendum.
So it'll be, by the time this agreement is over, they would be with us for 5 years, I believe.
Yeah, Mets was,
It was right before I came.
This would be the 4th. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I just want to add that we do have ongoing reports in Property Committee about the job that Service Master has been doing. Mr. Thorne's really on top of it, and he really does keep track of how they're doing and staying on top of their staffing and things like that. So we've been informed all along how things are going.
I just have a point of clarification on the motion. It says for the 2017 school year, that's 1 year, not 2. Can we clarify what we're voting on extending?
No, it's 2 years.
So is it incorrect on the motion?
16, 17, 16, 17, and 17,
We're already in
18.
That's 1 more year. If I'm understanding. He said 2 just now.
It's definitely 2 years.
So what's incorrect? I'm sorry, is it?
2 years.
So this should say 18?
The motion should be,
Thank-
should be
17,
16, 17, and 17.
Thank you very much.
Definitely should.
Mr. Sultanic, is there something I need to do? Do I need to reread it or?
We do. We have a motion on the table, so.
Whoever made the motion, we need to agree to that amendment. That's a yes or no?
Don't do it.
That's a yes. And then whoever made the second needs to agree.
Mr. Taylor. I'm in agreement. Mr. Taylor. You're out of the loop.
I think we're at a vote.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I wanted to concur with a question at every property meeting I've asked, and they have the forms that they have actually in the buildings for each of the restrooms and areas that were problem spots before, so they do have some, that they go along and check to make sure that those are up to date and they know exactly who's doing which job and which building.
Okay, so,
Mr. Chapman. Mr. Lapidus. Ms. Nelson. Mr. Rayer. Ms. Sarsfield. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Number 9, GASB 45/75, recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the attached GASB 45/75 agreement under the Pennsylvania Trust for the actuarial services performed by Conrad Siegel Actuaries. Attachment GGG. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
Ken, am I putting you too much on the spot to explain this in normal language for us, or can you
It's-
follow up? Yeah, lay, not GASB.
Yes, it's stuff we have to do for audit. Would you like to get more involved?
Not
if- No, this is
Give me one more sentence, yeah.
part of the auditing process and requirement of the auditing standards is to be able to set a valuation on the cost of post-employment benefits after retirement. We contract with them through a consortium through the IU. They do Montgomery County. It's a requirement of audit. It has to be done, and it has to be included in our annual audit.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chapman. Mr. Lapidus. Ms. Nelson. Mr. Rayer. Ms. Sarsfield. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 10, part-time independent contractor, ESY 2016. Recommended motion. Board of School Directors approves the part-time independent contractor agreement for July 1st, 2016 through August 30th, 2016 for vision and mobility therapy, attachment HHH. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chapman. Mr. Lapidus. Ms. Nelson. Mr. Rayer. Ms. Sarsfield. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 11, diesel fuel, gasoline, and heating oil bid, recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the award of bids for diesel fuel, gasoline, and heating oil for the 2016-2017 to the following lowest responsible bidders through the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit Purchasing Consortium. A rate of $1.3458 per gallon for diesel fuel, PAPCO. B, a rate of $1.2869 for gasoline, PAPCO. C, a rate of $1.6463 per gallon for heating oil, Superior Plus. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
These seem like terrific rates. We can't lock in for more than 1 year, can we? Can I fill up on this?
Mr. King?
Mr. Chapman. Mr. Mathis. Ms. Nelson. Mr. Ray. Ms. Sarsfield. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items? Future meeting dates. School board meeting, Tuesday, June 21st, 2016, 7 p.m. Freeze Memorial Lobby. Interim board meeting, Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016, 7 p.m. Freeze Memorial Lobby. There are no board committee meetings scheduled at this point.
Just one quick comment. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of our staff members for a terrific school year as we now come to the close of another good school year. We wish everyone a very safe, happy, and enjoyable summer. And I also certainly want to wish our transitioning students in 5th grade to 6th grade in the middle school, our 8th graders going into 9th grade at the high school, and of course our seniors who will be graduating next week on Wednesday evening, all the best as they make these big transitions in their lives. So I look forward to graduation, and let's all pray for sunshine for that evening.
And that is all. Motion to adjourn.
So this is our third and final presentation for the evening, and this is Gilbert Architects. So Tom, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I believe you and your team probably know most of our board members, but just for the sake of introductions, Janine DePaul Nelson over to the extreme left. Walter Lapidus will be returning, I believe. No, he left. I apologize. But you know Walter from property committee meetings and from work before. Catherine Sarsfield, Gretchen Slapinski, our board president. You know Ken, of course, you've worked with him. James Taylor, our chair of our property committee. Ben Rayer, and John Chapman. Okay, we're going to turn it over to you, Tom.
Very good.
Doesn't sound like it's working, but it's working if you hold it up close.
We just wanted to let you know that
Test.
we are going to be recording this for the public, so that's why we want you to use the microphone as well, so we can capture.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us tonight. Again, I'm Tom Gilbert, president of Gilbert Architects, and we brought our team with us. Unfortunately, Danielle Hoffer, who most of you have met before, who worked on the facility study and other projects, cannot be here. She had surgery last week, and she's recuperating at home now. So she'll be out for another couple of weeks, but we expect her to be back in the saddle. It's hard to keep a good woman down. We have Rod Fry with us tonight. Rod is a senior project architect and manager. He worked on the Erdenheim project. He worked on the facility study with Danielle, and has been with the firm for 19 years. And Kelly Groom is our interior designer. Kelly's been with us for 15 years. Also worked on Erdenheim and, well, that's it here, but all of our other projects for the last 15 years. And then Brian Good, senior project manager. He would be concentrating on the elementary school project. Brian's been with us for 20 years, has done many, many projects, including 4 projects at Cheltenham and plus Upper Dublin. In addition, we have Ken Kaufman, who I think you met previously, senior vice president for Moore Engineering. Ken and I go way back about 25 years. Our companies have worked together very, very well. We have Glenn Harris for 15 years with Renewed Design Group, and so we have a very tried and true team that works together flawlessly. Baker Ingram is another structural engineer that we use. They work on Erdenheim as well. And we'll be bringing acoustical and food service consultants as we go through this. You asked a little bit about our company. We'll go quickly. We formed in 1988. We are recognized educational facilities planners. That's all we do. 100%. We are the only firm that you're interviewed tonight that only specializes in schools. That's what we do, and we like to do it. We've been doing sustainable design for the last 15 years, long before LEED ever became a popular buzzword. We've done 29 LEED sustainable schools, but more importantly, we've received 71 educational awards for the quality of our educational facilities. We've done $2.5 billion worth of school construction, 226 facility studies, resulting in 24 new elementary schools. We're not going to show you them all tonight. 40 high school renovations and additions projects, so there's not much we haven't seen before, and 106 Plan-Con projects. Montgomery County, we've worked in 14 of the school systems here in Montgomery County. $250 million worth of construction, 51 projects over the last 20 years. And now we'd like to talk a little bit about the high school and your project. Starting off with your existing campus, which you all are well aware of, you have problems with the exiting, you have remote parking from the main entrance, and you have to optimize the site for, it needs for parking, for athletic fields, for circulation. And then I'll turn it over to Glenn. Glenn is the mastermind.
So this is a view of what we have put together to suggest some improvements to your campus, and what we have suggested here to really try to optimize a site that's very busy already and is packed full of things that are needed by your school district. We would seek to provide more identification of a building entrance point from the point of entry into the site, as well as from the parking areas, to have parking areas more adjacent to building entry points where you can actually see them. Currently, the parking is to this side, and it's a little hard to see the building entry point. We've also provided athletic fields around the perimeter of the campus and intended to provide more safety on the site with getting rid of sort of a confusing intersection you have now, and allowing more of a loop system around the school to function for the traffic flow. You can see that we have the relocated location of the entrance adjacent to the stadium, where it's visible to the building entry points. There could be a possible synthetic turf in the stadium, as well as in the athletic field that's shown to this side of the driveway. We've provided for continuous loop driveway, as I indicated, and the other athletic fields are softball fields, baseball fields, and multi-purpose fields around the perimeter, as well as 7 tennis courts up in this region, which would serve the high school needs and not displace the middle school activities that currently the high schoolers go through the tunnel and use those facilities at the middle school quite a bit. So that's how we would generally approach making adjustments to your campus to try to fit everything in and to try to make those improvements.
And I'd just like to say, we've put together some of these concepts and designs not because they are the end-all of the design. I mean, this is the very beginning of the process. We're going to go through, work with your people, vision with the administration, with the teachers, with the community, the PTO, and discuss all of these things. But people always like to start with a visual as begin the talking point. So we figured that this was the best way to begin this process, and it is only the beginning. There's a lot of work to be done to this, and that's one of the things we pride ourselves on is the amount of time and meetings that we take to get buy-in on this entire process. There we go. Oop, too far.
All right, now that we've talked about the site plan and how we can address some of the concerns on the site plan and the athletic fields, and as Glenn had mentioned, there's concern about when you're coming in currently, you don't necessarily see the front entrance to the school from Paper Mill Road. And then also some of the other needs that Danny and I were able to bring out through multiple conversations with the building principal and the athletic director. One of those is actually the need for an auxiliary gym, as well as providing separation between the public used areas of the building as well as the student areas, keeping the separation. So I'm going to walk through the first floor plan showing where, if I can get the right button, currently the natatorium and then the main entrance to the high school is over here. Also the existing gymnasium. What we wanted to do was bring in an entrance to the to the athletics area for the gymnasium as well as the natatorium, and also incorporate the auxiliary gym, having a very visible entrance to that as people are coming into the reorganized site so that they can see where they need to go when they go into the natatorium for swim meet or gymnasium for basketball game. One of the things that came out of our discussions is the auxiliary gym should be large enough for a full-size basketball court, but not necessarily a spectator type room. The other thing was bringing the weight room down from the second floor, which is up, in the upper part of the gymnasium, as well as bringing the trainer to the front of the building. In this location, what that also does is allows the trainer to have quick access to the fields that are being relocated around the entrance drive. Some of the other things we talked about were just the public access and how currently for a basketball game or an event in the gymnasium, the spectators are coming in and they're actually coming in halfway in the court. They're not coming at either end of the court. So it creates a bottleneck. So we wanted to try to address some of those concerns with bottleneck, that people would be able to come in. If they need a ticket, they can get a ticket. If they want some refreshments, then they can actually enter into the gymnasium from the bottom. That also provides space for team rooms in the general vicinity of the gymnasium, reconfiguring those spaces that are there currently. One of the other things with the public is providing separation for the public use of toilet rooms, for gymnasium functions, as well as providing a separate access to toilet room facilities off the natatorium. They're again trying to separate the public use from the student use as best as we can with the existing conditions. Some of the other things that we talked about with the building principal and the athletic director is how currently the boys' locker room is on the first floor and the girls' locker room is above it. And there's classroom space on the first floor down here next to the cafeteria. So trying to realign some of those functions, bringing, for security and visibility and just easy access to the gymnasium and the natatorium of the students, bringing the girls' locker room down to the first floor, reconfiguring both the locker room spaces to address the current needs of the students in the locker room, the locker facilities, team rooms. I understand there's a big crunch for, if I remember correctly, we were told that there's a real small team room off the natatorium that the boys lacrosse team uses. We can't even fit all the boys in there, much less their equipment. So trying to reorganize that so it functions better for the athletic programs as well as the educational programs and the security of the building. Last thing that we looked at was in the back would be the athletic director's office and also a coach referee space with additional storage for the huge amount of athletic equipment that's needed for a physical education program as well as sports. Going back to the original front entrance, where you come in and you go up, you have a greeter, and then you go up and somebody meets you at the top of the steps. What we're looking to do is, there again, provide more separation between the public and the students, that the students can move freely back and forth through the building without necessarily having to go down into a public space. So we'd be coming up, and you'd have your reception area, and then your principal and assistant principal, secretaries essentially flipping them from where they are currently, so that they're the first line defense for the students when somebody's coming in to say, hey, I need to pick so-and-so because they have a dental appointment. The second floor locker room, where the girls' locker room used to be up here, what the thought was is bring the TV studio up and the support spaces behind that so that it's adjacent to the library. And then this is where the weight room is now, making this more of a fitness room for different types of equipment, as well as the batting cage. There's enough space up there we could actually drop a batting cage in there that if the baseball team and the softball teams can't be outside, they can at least be inside due to inclement weather. So what does that look like? Starting the new access drive that Glenn had talked about, some of the parking in front of it, the new predominant entrance to the athletic facilities, and then of course your main entrance to the academic portions of the building. One of the things you'll notice is the addition for the auxiliary gym. Zooming in a little closer to give you a better look at that. Trying to tie in the new addition with the existing building. Some of the materials that we're looking to use are the stone that you'll find throughout other portions of the existing high school. Let's bring them out and bring them into the whole new addition. So it looks like a cohesive building. Closer view, you're again playing off the existing main entrance, bringing in some of the Spartan blue color to give it that team spirit. One of the nice things at Gilbert Architect, we're all familiar with using the AutoCAD Revit software, which is a 3D modeling program that we use for design and construction documents. We were able to take the concept of let's pick off some more of the things throughout the campus, like the existing field house has a half barrel vaulted roof on it. Taking the whole campus and let's unite it with the colors and with the roofs and stuff. Just these are thoughts and options, to get the creative juices flowing. Just another view. This is what you would see coming in off of Paper Mill Road and up the driveway. Of course, the Springfield Township High School, and then your auxiliary gym with the new entrances here. So with that said,
So I'm sure you've all seen Upper Dublin High School, and it's one of our flagship projects. And it's a project that we work very closely with Dr. Rittenhouse. And so we have a very close working relationship with him, Danny and Brian. Brian was the senior project architect with this, and Rod and Kelly all worked on Upper Dublin as well. We achieved LEED Gold certified, and it's a very, very exciting project. And then we have some of the highlights.
So this lobby makes a statement. It's the main athletic lobby, main athletic entrance to the new building. To the right is the natatorium, to the left is the gymnasium, and the district really wanted to show off some school pride here. So if you think about that new entrance that Rod talked about to the new athletic wing in your building, we could do something similar. The logo and the terrazzo flooring, they had some existing plaques for an athletic hall of fame, so we incorporated those into a custom wood wall to really make them shine. We also talked about a new auxiliary gym. This is an auxiliary gym. Resilient rubber flooring is a good material to be versatile. There's bleacher seating for spectators to watch intramural sports. Acoustically, we addressed it with acoustical block and acoustical deck on the roof. We incorporated a roll-down curtain that could be used to separate the space. Took into account all these things throughout the meetings and the process to decide what it was going to look like in the end. Here's another example of a destination point, a lobby with the logo on the floor. We didn't quite have the ceiling height here, but we incorporated some bulkheads and some lighting to make it a premier space. And again, bringing that school spirit into the gymnasium with graphics, some lettering in the bleachers. And really, each space takes on a unique look, depending on the needs and the wants and the programs and the school and the colors. It all just creates an opportunity to make a great space.
So then moving on to the Antonelli campus, where we want to put the new Enfield Elementary School, we looked at the site, our people along with Glenn, as far as the things that we need to take care of and be cognizant of as we design this facility, the existing building, which actually Brian's stepdaughter attended art school there, so very, I mean, is that three points of separation? But we looked at how we could organize the site. We actually took an existing plan that we had of a building that would work similar to here. It's not an exact fit, but is the right size and orientation. And Glenn, you want to talk about that?
So the building that Tom mentioned, you see right here the dashed line going through the middle of it. It was really a split-level building that was previously used in a very similar condition on a site that we thought would work really well on this site, and that is that it takes advantage of the topography, kind of sloping down the hill. That line would split the building so that it's 2-story on this side and 1-story on this side. So the thought here is that we would come in with a driveway off of directly opposite Carlisle Road, and be able to have a parent loop that would revolve around and back out Carlisle with an entry point into an upper level entrance. And then also access to bus staging at the lower level in the backside that would accommodate all the buses that you have coming to this site, as well as some vans, and still have some room on the site to be able to park potentially some of your smaller buses that are overflowing the bus garage area. At the same time, we would provide for stormwater management, age-appropriate play fields, adequate parking for staff and visitors on the site, and it would fully take advantage of that sloping topography and yet fit all of the requirements that we feel would be a part of this site plan process and really fit the site well.
And part of all of our design processes, we always take advantage and we look to the future. You know, what happens when you need to add more space? I mean, you've run across that with Erdenheim. We look at that in all of our facilities. Who knows when they're going to mandate full-day kindergarten or pre-K, and you need to add more space. And I think thoughtfully we could address those types of issues now so that it's planned for and doesn't become an emergency in the future. So that's how we operate in our designs. And the building that I had showed you, the footprint, is actually the Octorara Primary Learning Center. It's a K-2 building we did several years ago with a separate bus drop-off and a separate parent drop-off, and it was very successful and an exciting facility.
Just a couple highlights from Octorara. It is a primary center, and what we were able to do here was incorporate some large group pull-out spaces that were accessed by all of the classrooms. And what this did was create a central area, which is really popular right now and common with collaboration and pulling people out in either large groups or small groups, which this can accommodate. The other thing we get excited to talk about with elementary design is just making it age appropriate. It's a place to have fun, get students excited about education. Here we went pretty literal and we did shapes throughout the building. We incorporated it into the furniture, into the design, throughout the entire school to bring it all together. Just a place to have fun and get kids excited.
So as I mentioned, in working with your neighboring school district at Cheltenham, we did their master plan feasibility study, and out of that began a process of replacement elementary schools, starting with Glenside, Cheltenham, and then Wyncote, and now we have the Cedarbrook Middle School under construction. And given our attention to detail and quality control and the use of our modeling in the building in the Revit program, we achieved being under budget, on time, no errors and omissions change orders on all 3 projects, and that in the end there was $366,000 credit back on one, $352,000 credit back on the second, and $154,000 credit back on the third. And I think that speaks volumes to our ability to pay attention and to meet your needs. Brian? And Brian again was the project architect on all 3 of these projects, and along with working with Kelly.
Thanks, Tom. I'm just going to talk a little bit more detail about the 3 elementary schools. The first one I'm going to show you is the Cheltenham Elementary. It has a similar site as the Antonelli site where it slopes, as Glenn was just talking about. So we were able to separate the parent and bus drop-off, which we try to do in all schools to separate that traffic. So at the main entrance, we do have the parent drop-off and pick up. One other thing with materials that we use for the exterior, we try to complement the surrounding areas. So here we have brick and it's siding. It's a bit of a residential area, so we try to complement the surrounding areas. And on the lower level, as I mentioned, it slopes like Antonelli. We have the bus drop-off and pickup. This is the 2-story classroom wing, similar to what was shown in the plan for Antonelli. There are, I believe, 6 classroom pods in each of the 3 wings you see there. One thing that we did incorporate is these canopies. There's 2 of them, these flat canopies. They're actually green roofs. And you can see them from some of the classrooms as well as from the stair tower. So they not only work well for stormwater management, but also as a great teaching tool for the students. In the reception area, we have a lot of glass, as you can see. This allows great visibility to the drop-off area, which you saw in the earlier picture, as well as the parking lot. So the receptionist, secretary can see everybody who's coming. And then the secure vestibule is just off to the left. So anybody coming into the building has to go into the receptionist before they can go anywhere else in the building. As far as materials, we used a lot of wood here to give a really warm, welcome feeling as you come into the building. It's a picture of a typical classroom. One thing that we did is we had numerous meetings with all the staff members to find out exactly what they needed in their spaces. So, for instance, in the classroom, we had the student cubbies and the open bookshelves, or something that the teacher requested. You can see large windows for a lot of daylight in all the classrooms. The building is oriented so that we get the optimum daylight for classroom spaces. There's also indirect lighting, which is best lighting for diffused light throughout the space. I'm going to let Kelly talk a little bit about the furnishings.
This is a good slide to let you know that for these projects, we actually spearheaded with the district the furniture, the FF&E package, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So we worked with them, met again with the teachers and the principal to select all of the furnishings that went into the building. We put the package together and put it out to bid, and then saw it through the installation, just to make sure that final piece of the puzzle goes smoothly at that very last crunch time when everybody's trying to get ready to move in.
This is the multi-purpose room, which is the cafeteria and auditorium combined space. You can see at the back of the picture there's the stage, and it has steps that go the whole way across the stage. So this allows the chorus to actually use those steps as risers. So they don't have to bring in separate risers. I mean, they can put additional risers on top of the stage if they have additional students. It's flexible space. It has a folding partition, which comes right across this bulkhead. We use very durable surfaces. In here, that's masonry walls and terrazzo flooring, which is very durable, as well as good recycling, because it has recycled glass within the terrazzo. This is a bioretention rain garden that is to the side of the building, just outside the library, which is this area right here. It's filled with logs and rocks and stone paths, as you can see. There's bird houses. And what we did actually, it's for, as it says, critter release. So this area gets wet when it rains, and then the water will slowly seep into the ground. But it's an area where critters can live, within the rocks and the logs. So when the building was finished, we actually had all the students come out and they did a critter release. So it was something that the students could get involved in and learn about. So it was a really fun day for everybody. Another little feature that we did at this school was a rainwater recycling area, which is located just to the one side of the classroom. Now, the Glenside Elementary School. Again, we were able to separate the bus and the parent. The bus drop-off is behind the flag, and the parent drop-off is to the right side, just off the main entrance. This is a flat site. It does slope once you get to the very back. So it was a little different in the layout. Again, we use materials that are similar to the surrounding areas. A lot of windows for the classroom areas.
And the window's open.
Yes, all the windows are open. In the back of the school, we have a couple playground areas which are located just off the cafeteria and the gymnasium, which you see in the background. We have two areas. There's separate kindergarten areas, so there's age-appropriate play equipment in both areas. It's a recycled rubber surface at the play equipment area, and then you can see the basketball nets is also then a hard surface play area as well. This is a picture of one of the corridors, and in the original Glenside School, there was a lot of wood wainscot, and the district wanted to bring that same feel back into the new design. So we included the wood wainscot in all the corridors. Again, we have the terrazzo, as I mentioned before, in the corridors. One thing you notice here is the student toilet rooms. We don't have doors on those, and we do that for a purpose, and that is to help have a better sense of security and supervision of those spaces, which sometimes can get a little out of control in schools. Now, they are designed so that you cannot see into the space from the corridors. This is a picture of the Glenside cafeteria auditorium, very similar. Now you can see a better picture of the folding partition that can separate the space so that when lunch is going on, if they want to use the stage or the large group space, they can close that partition and still have that space available. And there you can see a good picture of the steps that can be used as risers as well. In the gymnasium, we have some natural daylighting as well as a translucent panel, which I notice you have the same type of panel in your gymnasium. We took care of the acoustic, because obviously gymnasium can be a very loud space. We have flexibility with a folding partition, rubber floor, which is good, especially for elementary school age students. And it does have a lot of recycled content to it. And you see in the background here, this is the climbing wall. This was something that was in the existing original building, and the phys ed teacher had asked if we could incorporate that existing climbing wall into the new design. So we did that at the end of the gymnasium. Now, the last school, elementary school, is the Wyncote Elementary. It was a very tight site, but we were still able to separate that bus and parent drop-off as we did in the other schools. You can see all three schools have their own sort of unique design or look to them, and we do that on purpose. Some of it is depending on how the surrounding neighborhood feels. This has a little bit more of a traditional look, and a lot of the architects were detailing with columns and cornice details. The cafeteria auditorium space, very similar to what you saw in the other two schools. So it continues with the program that they had in all those schools. The library has a lot of daylighting. There's a lot of big windows. In the existing school, the original school, I should say, the library had no windows. So we wanted to really bring a lot of daylight into that space, make it a really lively space. Actually, right outside those windows is a low roof in the one-story area. That is a green roof. So it's, again, not only great for stormwater management, but in this location, a great teaching tool for the students because you can see it very easily through the windows.
And Brian talked about making each school unique and making it fit for that particular neighborhood. And what's exciting as the interior designer on the project is we get to carry that the whole way through. We bring it inside the building too. So this library doesn't look like any library that we've ever done. We take the time to sit with a library consultant and select things and design things that work specifically for that building. You can see the end panels have that traditional molding look, and the wood stain is carried throughout that building. And then we took it throughout the building as well. We incorporated the traditional wood wainscoting here, the colonial looking columns, and again we incorporated the terrazzo flooring. And one thing to mention about terrazzo flooring and ways that we look outside of the box to be sustainable. It doesn't just have to have recycled content, there's more to it than that. And the great thing about terrazzo is it has a long life cycle. It's going to last as long as the building does, so that makes it sustainable in its own right. So we like to look at different things and different avenues and ways to incorporate sustainability.
I just want to mention if you remember the slide that Kelly talked about earlier from Octorary that had that learning lab, very large space. This is a similar type space, a little smaller scale, but we have these, we have the little breakout areas at the classroom wings. So they can bring small groups out of the classrooms and do some small projects. It's not a large space, but it is something that they requested, so we just sort of widen the quarters so that would give them that availability. And then this is the lobby of the Wyncote Elementary School. I mentioned earlier on Cheltenham about the secure vestibule. That's what these doors here are, the secure vestibule. As you come in, you cannot go through those doors until you enter into the office space, which is behind those doors there. And then you can come out into the lobby and the rest of the school. It's a very high space. We have nice daylighting within the space, and also accounted for acoustics.
I talked about collaboration, flexibility. The world of education is ever changing, and the way that teachers teach is ever changing. And it's our job as architects to stay on top of these things and know what's coming next, and to work with your administration and your staff to figure out where the district is going and where the programs are going. And it gets us excited to talk about spaces that work for the teachers and the students. A place to collaborate, a place to bring people together for large groups, lots of natural daylighting, energetic, bright, exciting, but also make them flexible with furniture and other things where they can use them as large groups, but they could also separate into small groups as well. Flexibility is key. Here you can see a small group room that has glass so that dual functions could be happening at the same time, but always that supervision is available for the teachers. And again, flexibility in that furniture, constant visual of everybody and being able to see, and just making spaces work for the teachers and the staff to be able to teach in a great way.
So in order to wrap up, I know that was long. Why hire Gilbert Architects? Why is Gilbert Architects unique? Well, we already have an excellent working relationship with the district, with your staff, with your people. We feel that the Erdenheim project was a success, as was the project that we did, the mechanical project at the district office. we are unique in that we did your district-wide feasibility study, facility study. So we have a great working knowledge of all your facilities. Excuse me. Again, we are recognized educational facilities planners, and I think that all of us meet that or have achieved that and bring that to the table. We're also the architect of record for the Department of Education's submission of Plan Con A, which ultimately will bring you $1.5 million in reimbursement, as I showed Mr. King. And lastly, you have our continued commitment to the school district of Springfield Township, and we look forward to continuing our relationship and being your architect. So with that, I'd be glad to answer we would be glad to answer any questions.
Tom, thank you so much for bringing your excellent team with you. We really appreciate the time and attention you gave to the presentation. This is obviously a very difficult choice for the board members, but we'll give it ample consideration. And once again, we really appreciate your taking the time to give us really something excellent to mull over.